The New Orleans Saints have a chance to win themselves into the NFC postseason with just a little bit of help from across the conference. We're going to create our game plan on the offensive and defensive sides for the New Orleans Saints to handle their end of the bargain. And we're joined by WWL's Ricardo LeCompte to help break it all down even further. We got all of that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? Welcome into this Game Plan Friday episode of Locked On Saints, your daily podcast covering the New Orleans Saints, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much, as always, for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day every day. Don't forget, we're free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube as well. I'm your host, Ross Jackson, at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter, Canal Street Chronicles, Locked On NFL, and here with you every single Monday through Friday on Locked On Saints. And today is our final episode of the week as we are breaking down the New Orleans Saints traveling to take on the Atlanta Falcons, keep themselves alive in the NFC postseason playoff conversation. We've talked about endlessly how impressive it is that the New Orleans Saints are even in this position, but now let's talk about how they seal the deal. Before we get started, I want to let you know, if the New Orleans Saints win and the Los Angeles Rams win, the New Orleans Saints, of course, will be in the postseason. We're going to do a quick 10 to 15 minute live show right after that. If the Saints and Rams win, live right here on Locked On Saints with a special guest. Going to be a lot of fun. Don't miss it. So make sure you have all of your, that you're on YouTube and everything, that you're subscribed and you got your bell turned on, notifications, all that stuff. And then, of course, that'll be posted up on the podcast side as well, so no one will be missing out. But just a heads up, we'll be live right after the game if the Saints and Rams win. Very excited about that. So let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints and how they can get this win against the Atlanta Falcons. So let's start off with what the Saints need to do on the offensive side, then we'll jump to the defensive side before Ricardo LeCompte of WWLTV joins us. Let's start with pre-snap conflict. That's what the New Orleans Saints need to generate on the offensive side. We talked about how the run game got popping in the second half against the Carolina Panthers because of all the things that the Saints did creatively after the snap. Let's talk about how the Saints can impact the game pre-snap. And they did a little bit of this against the Carolina Panthers in the second half to get their run game percolating a little bit then. But when it came down to what the Saints did, you saw a lot of their usage of personnel groupings in order to dictate what the Carolina Panthers defense looked like, right? Forcing them into nickel coverage situations, lightening boxes by spreading the defense out horizontally, motioning Alvin Kamra out in that sweep action, which pulled a linebacker out of the box and allowed Taysom Hill to be able to run behind the pulling guard for his big 12, 14-yard run on the touchdown drive, right? The first touchdown in 173 minutes and 11 quarters for the New Orleans Saints. But those pieces, right? Those little things, those little nuances make all the difference for the New Orleans Saints, especially when the sort of margin for error is razor thin with the injuries that you have on the offensive line. Now, the Saints could be getting healthier there. You should expect Erik McCoy back on Monday. Like we mentioned, he's already been activated off the COVID-19 list. He was activated on Sunday with the chance, leaving the chance open, the door open for him to maybe test in and be able to play on Sunday. That didn't happen, but since he was already activated on Saturday, he's ready to go this week. Terron Armstead hasn't practiced so far this week, but we've seen that before, so we'll see if he gets out on the field. Today we'll get the final injury report. If he was elevated to limited, then expect him to be questionable. If not, then he'll probably be out, but he hasn't practiced Wednesday or Thursday. But Ryan Ramczyk, on the other hand, has limited on both Wednesday and Thursday. That's good news, him coming off of missing 7 straight games, one of which on the COVID reserve list as well. So if they're able to get any of those pieces back, it's effectively getting 2/5 of your offensive line back. Gives you a lot more sort of flexibility in terms of the plays that you can call, the concepts that you can run on that offensive line, particularly over to the right side. But using that pre-snap confusion in terms of dictating those defenses with personnel groups, using the pre-snap motion, even doing things with your lineups in your formations, right? Bunch packages that end up putting 3 wide receivers in a triangle on the left or right side, right? The weak or strong side there. That gives you an opportunity to kind of manipulate that Atlanta Falcons defense. Using Alvin Kamra out wide pulls a linebacker out of the box if the Falcons are in man coverage, which you should expect quite a bit in this game, you could then turn around and have Deontay Harris in the backfield and then have a little bit of fun that way, either in the passing game or the run game. Jet motions, jet actions, jet sweeps, things like that. All stuff to watch for the New Orleans Saints as they try to get creative on the offensive side to throw the rival Atlanta Falcons off. So pre-snap confusion, conflict, the things that they can create, they are going to be very important. The next thing, it's kind of two things, but it all comes down to protection. Protect the quarterback, protect the ball. We talked about the injuries on the offensive line. Let's talk about protecting the ball. That comes down to, first of all, what the Saints have done so well over the course of the past few games, which is not turn the ball over, but also hold on to the ball, right? Extend those drives. Traequan Smith was limited in practice on Thursday. That's good news for the New Orleans Saints. You'd love to have him back out on the field. I know he's not somebody that you look at and say he's going to give you 100 receiving yards and a touchdown every game or anything like that, but he gives you tough yardage, right? He makes tough catches over the middle. He converts first downs. That keeps your offense on the field. That protects the ball in that it doesn't give the ball to the offense. If you have a quick third and out, you're not protecting the ball. You're giving the ball back to Atlanta. You can't do that. So look for the New Orleans Saints to be able to utilize these players to be able to pick up 3-4 yards at a time, chip away, probably take a shot down the field a couple of times. I think you're going to see it in this one. Taysom's gotten a little bit better here recently at his anticipation, getting the ball out on time down the field. Use Deontay Harris in that case, use Marquez Callaway in that case. But for the most part, I would expect this New Orleans Saints offense to still be meticulous and still be condensed, working close to the line of scrimmage, because that's where you've had the most success, especially considering that Atlanta has a lot of trouble creating pressure with their front four, and that means they have to bring players from the second and third levels. They have to blitz. You look at all of the top pass rushers against the New Orleans Saints the last two times these two teams met, you saw a lot of pressure from safeties, saw a lot of pressure from slot corners, and you saw a lot of pressure from linebackers. Not a lot coming from the defensive line. With that in mind, you need to get the ball out quickly in order to be able to combat the pressure that's coming from the blitz, because then you end up just tossing to where the open spot on the field is because of where that blitzer has vacated. So you protect the ball, and in getting the ball out quickly, you protect the quarterback, and in getting healthy on the offensive line, you got to protect the quarterback as well. It's been really strange to watch an injured offensive line perform better as pass blockers than run blockers. That's not usually what you see in the NFL. So that'll become a big part of what you need for the New Orleans Saints in order to get their win and play their role in terms of getting back into the playoffs for the 5th straight year. Finally, for the New Orleans Saints, sheer want and will. You have to want this more than the Atlanta Falcons want to be the team to knock you off, right? You have to want this win. And the New Orleans Saints want this win. This is something I'm not worried about. I usually when we're breaking down game plan stuff, I usually stick with X's and O's and I go into like, here's what the New Orleans Saints literally need to do on the field. But this is a little bit more philosophical because it's important, right? The New Orleans Saints need to want this win more than the Atlanta Falcons want to play spoiler. And I think they can. I think they will. But this is huge for me. This is a big ingredient, I guess you can say. This is a main ingredient in this like gumbo of a win, is to turn around and want this more than the Atlanta Falcons. And I think the fans will help with that too, because I think Saints fans are going to be traveling well for this game to help kind of flip home field advantage, flip the home environment in favor of the New Orleans Saints, especially when people in Atlanta aren't really excited about the Falcons. Right now, Aaron Freeman, Locked on Falcons, joined us for yesterday's Crossover Thursday, mentioned a lot of Falcons fans actually want them to lose this game so that they can be focused on draft, positioning and everything like that. The New Orleans Saints want to win this game because it means getting into the playoffs, or in the very least, it means being a team worthy of the playoffs, right? So that's the last ingredient for me. So pre-snap conflict, creating all of that for Atlanta's defense, protecting the quarterback and protecting the ball, and just wanting this one more than the Atlanta Falcons. And I think the New Orleans Saints should be able to handle all of that business on the offensive side. Let's talk about the business they need to handle on the defensive side as well, including, of course, getting pressure on Matt Ryan. We'll talk about that and much more as we continue on with today's episode of Locked on Saints. And as we're kind of going through all these, this game plan and building a game plan for you, let me help you build a game plan for your New Year's resolution, especially if you're talking about your diet, weight loss, things like that. I want to make sure that Built Bars are a part of your repertoire. There is no better protein bar out there. The protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Incredible flavors that make it super easy for you to maintain your New Year's resolution, right? You get to have things like salted caramel, cookies and cream, peanut butter brownie. My favorite is mint brownie. I love mint and chocolate. all covered in 100% chocolate, these flavors, and you're taking care of yourself. You're only getting 6-7 grams of sugar, but 16, 17, 18 grams of protein, 130 to 150 calories. Really easy to stick on your diet when you're talking about these numbers with something as delicious as a Built Bar. So go and check them out at BuiltBar.com or at Built.com. Don't forget to use the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15 for 15% off. That's 15% off with the promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com. And here's another one for your daily game plan and navigating this world and navigating the expensive gas prices out there. And it's the Get Upside app, probably my second favorite app behind only Twitter at this point. Get Upside equips you with the app that allows you to get up to 25 cents per gallon off every time that you fill up at select gas stations. You can cash out whenever you want. Just kind of builds up credits within the app, and then you can cash out directly to your bank account, to PayPal, or you can get gift cards like Amazon and other brands as well. And if you download the app, which is free today, which I highly recommend you do, use the promo code touchdown so you can get a 25-cent bonus. That's up to 50 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. That is the Get Upside app. Doesn't get any better than this, y'all. Go and check it out to go ahead and knock some of those gas prices down in your area. Build that up and then be able to cash out. Some folks are making $200, $300 a month by using the Get Upside app. And once again, don't forget that promo code touchdown so you can get up to 50 cents back per gallon on your first fill up with the Get Upside app. All right, Who Dat Nation, continuing on with today's episode of Locked On Saints. Thanks as always, once again, for making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day. Don't forget we're free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube as well. And don't forget that after this game, if the Saints and the Rams win and the Saints advance to the playoffs, you're going to get a live, very fun podcast right after the game, 10 to 15 minutes, myself and a special guest, live on YouTube, but the audio will also be posted for podcast as well. So don't miss out on that. That'll be immediately following the Saints game against the Atlanta Falcons if the Saints and Rams win and the Saints advance to the playoffs. Otherwise, you'll get another podcast, but we'll all want to take some time if the Saints don't get in. So let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Saints defense and what they need to do to win this game before we get to Ricardo LeCompte of WWLTV, who's going to talk to us a little bit about poetic justice that the New Orleans Saints could potentially have going into the playoffs this year. But let's start off with pressuring Matt Ryan, right? We know that that's the big key. We know that that's the huge key when it comes to going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Once again, Cam Jordan owns the record for individual defender having the most sacks on an individual quarterback in NFL history. No defender has more sacks on a single quarterback than Cam Jordan has on Matt Ryan, with a career of 22 so far, 22 career sacks on the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. He's going to be kind of foaming at the mouth and ready to go in this one. Now, something to watch. Marcus Davenport has not participated in practice on Wednesday or Thursday with an ankle injury. He's been on the injury report over the past few weeks, but still playing with a shoulder injury. This seems like it's a different injury. If that's the case, that impacts the game in three different ways for the defensive line. One, it takes Marcus Davenport off the field, who gives you a ton when it comes to pass rush as well as run defense. He has been fantastic over the course of the maybe second half of the season, and started off strong in the first half of the season too, but just was dealing with a lot of injuries and unavailability. It also impacts exactly what Cam Jordan always talks about, right? You ask Cam Jordan about him having 11.5 sacks in the season, 7.5 over the last 3 games, 106 on his career, and he wants to credit David Onyemata. He wants to credit Marcus Davenport for being back and on the field and making his job, a little bit more focused in terms of, I just got to pin my ears back and go and get after the passer. If Marcus Davenport's not that, it might not there. It might end up impacting the freedom that Cam Jordan usually has to go up against these, one-on-ones and things like that. The last piece is that it impacts your rotation. The New Orleans Saints love to treat their defensive line like a hockey team. You'll see first down, after the first down play, 4 defensive linemen run off and 4 brand new defensive linemen run in for second down, and then 4 run off and then 4 more run in for the obvious passing situation on third down, things like that. So without Marcus Davenport, that potentially puts a lot more reps on guys like Jalen Holmes as well as Carl Granderson, in addition to, of course, Cam Jordan. And that could create a little bit of fatigue on the defensive line, which the Saints haven't had to deal with as much over the course of the past few games, with the exception, of course, of the Miami Dolphins game. So something to watch there, but getting pressure on Matt Ryan, of course, extremely important in this one. Just to put some numbers to it in terms of how important it is against Matt Ryan's completion percentage when not pressured is 73.5%. His completion percentage when pressured this season has been 55.7%. It also drops his passer rating from a 99 even when not pressured to 76.6 when pressured. So getting pressure on Matt Ryan, very, very, very important. Let's also look at touchdowns to interceptions. 7 touchdowns to 7 interceptions when pressured, 12 touchdowns to 6 interceptions when not pressured. So that becomes a big piece of it as well. You're going to get interceptions either way, it looks like, but you're limiting the scoring when you're getting that pressure on them. All right, let's look next. In order for the Saints to be able to continuously get pressure on Matt Ryan, they have to not be so concerned with the run game, which means they need to eliminate the run game early. Cam Jordan talked about it in his post-game after the win over the Carolina Panthers, in which he said, you stop the run, then you get to have fun as defensive linemen. And so expect that to be the case. If Kyle Pitts is injured or isn't available, then you should expect to see Cordarrelle Patterson a ton at wide receiver as opposed to at running back. That means it's going to be a lot of Mike Davis in this game. And if that's the case, the Saints can easily key in on Mike Davis in the run game and try to neutralize that run game as much as possible, eliminate that run game as much as possible. That way, Atlanta gets forced into situations where they feel like they're only comfortable moving the ball through the air, which works in the New Orleans Saints' favor. The New Orleans Saints can't let the Falcons do what the Saints did to the Carolina Panthers last week, which is keep the game so close that they were able to continue to focus on the run game and push it into the second half and then completely rebound their run game in the second half. You can't let Atlanta do that same thing. You have to eliminate that run game and then force them away from it by also putting up points on the other side, right? If you're the New Orleans Saints offense. Lastly, we said neutralize a moment ago. I'm going to use the word again, neutralizing Kyle Pitts. If Kyle Pitts is on the field, you have to erase him from the game. And that's CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's Quan Alexander, that's Demario Davis, it's all these coverage guys that are going to be lined up in the box, lined up in the slot, stuff like that. That ends up being a huge piece of this game because Kyle Pitts doesn't have a lot of touchdowns on the season. He's only got 1, but he produces a lot of yardage. He picks up a lot of first downs. He extends a lot of drives. And you want to get the defense off the field. You want to get the offense. You want to get the ball in the hands of the offense so that they can run the clock, protect the ball, and protect possession. Then you need to make sure that Kyle Pitts doesn't go off in this game. He had 3 catches last time that these two teams met for only 63, 62 yards. So not terrible, but still picked up some chunk yardage, still converted some first downs. You want to try to lessen the damage as much as you can when it comes to Kyle Pitts so that you can focus in on guys like Russell Gage and Cordarrelle Patterson in the passing game. And you want to force the Falcons to use Cordarrelle Patterson in the passing game as opposed to in the run game, just to lessen the amount of touches that Cordarrelle Patterson has, considering the sort of rejuvenation that he's had of his career so far in Atlanta. Finally, somebody's figured out how to use him. So for the Saints defense, they have to limit the options in terms of how Patterson is used by neutralizing another big threat, forcing the Falcons to use Patterson to try to make up for production in the passing game that they're not getting elsewhere. So that becomes a big part of forcing the Falcons' hand a bit by simply neutralizing one player. And it's a very talented player. It's a big player. So you want to make sure that you're getting him sort of erased from the game as much as possible, in addition to limiting the Atlanta Falcons' run game. Those things keep the ball in the hands of Matt Ryan longer, giving the Saints defensive line, even if injured, the opportunity to get after Matt Ryan and get to Matt Ryan, more importantly. 7 sacks last game against the Carolina Panthers. The Saints would love to walk away with at least 4 or 5 in this game against Atlanta and really rattle Matt Ryan, who gets visibly very frustrated, particularly against New Orleans when they're getting home. All right, coming up next, we're going to be joined by Ricardo LeCompte of WWLTV. We're going to talk about some poetic justice and what the New Orleans Saints need to do to win this game, and just how impressive it is that the Saints are even in this situation to where we're talking about potential playoff appearance for them. We got that and much more coming up for you as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Saints. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about our friends over at betonline.ag. The line has moved a little bit more. It's continuing to tighten up in this game. New Orleans Saints traveling to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons in the hopes of keeping their playoff hopes alive. That line has now moved from 4.5 to open up to 3.5 here on Friday. That very likely means that people keep betting for the Saints to cover. So that's good news, right? You're seeing a lot of people with a lot of faith there, or maybe they're just trying to make the money play, whichever. I'm going to choose faith. On the other hand, you see Los Angeles Rams and San Francisco 49ers. Their line is held steady. This is the other game you should be paying very much attention to during the New Orleans Saints game, is that Rams and 49ers game. That game right now is still minus 4 in favor of the Los Angeles Rams. So things still looking good in terms of what Vegas expects in this one. So if you want to go ahead and make things look good in terms of your checkbook as well, your bank account, however it is that you want to look at it, head over to betonline.ag. You can get in on these lines. You get in on the over-unders, which are 40 right now and 44.5 for the Saints game and the Rams game, respectively. And of course, everything else that you might want around the NFL, NBA, NHL, UFC, MMA, and even your favorite Vegas casino games as well. And don't forget about that super dope live betting module that you can take advantage of during the game as well, so you can spot trends and put your money down on those trends as they are developing right in front of you. Lots of fun stuff for you over at betonline.ag. If you're a first-time customer, don't forget to use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for a 50% welcome bonus. That's a 50% welcome bonus with the promo code LOCKEDON over at betonline.ag, where the game starts. All right, everybody, it is another WWL Wednesday on Friday. As we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Saints, today we're joined by our good friend Ricardo LeCompte of WWLTV Channel 4. You can follow him on Twitter at rlecomptetv. Ricardo, look, the New Orleans Saints are in a situation now that we maybe didn't expect them to be in. 4 quarterbacks starting this season, a 5-game losing streak, displaced for 21 days to start the season, COVID issues, and so much more. How surprised are you? Or let me actually ask you this way. How impressive is it that the New Orleans Saints are in this situation to where we're talking about them potentially being a playoff team?
Yeah, Ross, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, all right, is this Sean Payton's best coaching job? Considering, all the stuff he's done throughout the years. And then, I go, all right, well, he won a Super Bowl. So maybe that's probably the best season he's ever had. But then, they were the best team. I mean, they started 13-0 before they, before they won the championship, lost 3 to end the season and all that. But they were good, but they never had to face adversity like they faced this season. And the fact that we're talking week 18, that the Saints, who, again, you said they started 4 starting quarterbacks. He had a Hall of Fame quarterback retire at the beginning of the season. You had questions what was going to happen there. You had to cut over $100 million in cap space, lost a lot of veterans, a lot of key contributors that got you to the playoffs the last 3-4 years. And so you're starting almost, with a lot of good talent, but not necessarily proven talent, a lot of potential in some of those positions. And considering all of those things, and then, oh, by the way, you've got a COVID outbreak at the worst time possible when you're trying to get back and climb back into the postseason hunt. Considering that, we're going into week 18 and all they have to do is get a win and have one other team beat another team in the conference for you to get into the playoffs. It has been a remarkable job. And you have to speak to culture that's been established. And you wonder why a bunch of free agents in the offseason, when they're looking at destinations, they always mention New Orleans as a possible spot.
Yep.
And not just because New Orleans is a great city, but look at the franchise that you're playing for. Look at the stability that's been there. Look at the mind of Sean Payton that you get to work under, especially if you're an offensive guy. Look at what they've got in place for you to succeed as a player. You're not just going to a place to get a paycheck. That you could, you can get the best paycheck out there, but you're going here with a realistic chance of winning and winning a Super Bowl. And most of the things, that's what free agents want. They want that chance to win a championship. New Orleans is one of the spots to absolutely do it. So that culture is built there. And when you see that culture in place, when you see that, we have all these adverse things happen to us, but in the end, we know that we're going to be better on the other side of it if we can just navigate it through it and to keep the ship, sailing and upright and moving in a direction, all in the same, in the same direction, in the same goal and common goal. It's impressive. And, as I thought about it that way, I went, you know what, this is Sean Payton's best coaching job. And if they get in the playoffs, he's not going to win Coach of the Year, obviously, because of record, but what he's gone through and what he's done, this is easily the best coaching job Sean Payton has ever had.
Yeah, I love the word that you used, remarkable. Love that you talked about culture. I think that this New Orleans Saints team is sort of building a cachet so that they can hit the free agent market, they can hit the trade market potentially and say, hey, we're 1 U away, high-profile free agent, high-profile trade target, whatever it might be, from being back in the Super Bowl based upon, take a look at this defense, take a look at what we have here. And that defense is a big part of what they're going to need against Atlanta on Sunday in order for any of this to be possible, right? And I think regardless, you could still talk about the Saints being a successful team based upon what they've gone through, but a win on Sunday would certainly sweeten it against a division rival, Atlanta Falcons. What are you looking at as sort of the key to victory, if you will, for the New Orleans Saints this Sunday?
Well, it's got to be the formula that's worked for them the last few weeks, and it's the defense. And I think there's a little bit of motivation playing the Falcons, not only because it is your division rival. You're going to hear it in the offseason if the Falcons sweep the Saints. You're going to hear that. So obviously there's a little bit of motivation in there too. But that defense, for the most part, didn't feel like they had their best performance in that Week 9 loss. Particularly on that, they had a chance to put it away. The Saints were able to take the lead. And then there was just one last drive where this defense, which they take a lot of pride in what they're able to do, weren't able to stop the Falcons from driving down the field. One big chunk play to Cordarrelle Patterson, and then a field goal to lose it. It's biting at them like, hey, this is one of the things that, the reason why we're here is because these things happen during the season. And that's one of the things that's probably motivating, that's fueling this unit, because they've been lights out the last few weeks. Only given up in the last 4 games, I think it's 2 offensive touchdowns. They're the number 1 red zone defense in the league. They're one of the best third down defenses in the league. They're playing so well. And to cap it off, to erase what happened in that Week 9, where you had a chance to go on the field and win it, and you failed in doing that, and you let the Falcons win offensively. This is their time to shine. And the Saints are going to need it, because honestly, outside of the 3 phases of this game, special teams, they found some stability there, with Brett Maher, and now Blake Gillikin has been playing well all season as a punter. And offensively, what you've got there. You're kind of inept on that side. You're going to have to be carried to victory by this defense. And I see this unit playing well against Matt Ryan and company, and figuring things out, and especially on the defensive line, which has played so great. These last few games with Cam Jordan. I think Marcus Davenport has been equally as disruptive as Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan's got the numbers, but having a guy like Marcus Davenport at the other end to give offenses, no chances of double teaming Cam Jordan when he's going on this streak right now is highly important. And David Onyemata as well in the middle. This disruptive force of this defensive line is going to be key for them to beat the Falcons. And once again, it's going to be that defense that leads the way for the Saints to get into the postseason. It's got to be this defense.
Yeah. And if they are able to do that, if they are able to get into the postseason, it'll be because they won, the Rams won, and both of those games will take place at the same time. The Rams fighting for the top of the NFC, they would be the 2nd seed, and the Saints would be the 7th seed, which would mean just a week later, those 2 teams would meet in the first round of the playoffs. So a little bit of poetic justice in that whole situation, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like, hey, thanks for getting us into the playoffs. We're going to go to LA now and eliminate you from possibly going to a run to the Super Bowl. And and the Pats laid out for them. It's win in Atlanta, have that happen. Then it's LA, and then you're going to Green Bay if you make it to the divisional round. It was funny. A lot of these guys were asked all week in the last couple of days. It's like, are you going to be scoreboard watching? You always have that natural tendency of going, all right, we'll take care of business, but what's going on in this game? And any player can say, no, they don't care about it. We're focused in between the lines, 60 minutes. What's our opponent in front of us? But human nature is going to be like, okay, if we have a lead, I'm going to peek up there and see, the 49ers. Oh no. Or, oh man, the Rams are winning. Okay. All right.
There's the charge, right?
There's a little bit of juice that you're going to need there. So the Rams and Saints, certainly that is going to be poetic justice if they meet in the wildcard round. But again, they've got to take care of business first. And I think, again, the formula for a win in Week 18, it's depending on that defense, and then it's the offense not losing the game. And offensively, we've talked about all these issues. They have not been able to find the end zone. Remember, it was an 11-quarter touchdown scoreless drought, and before they scored on that 4th quarter Taysom Hill to Alvin Kamra touchdown against the Panthers. We're going to probably see more droughts like this if they play, in the next couple of weeks. So what do they have to do? Ball control, shorten the game. It helps running the ball if you have somebody with, not only Alvin Kamra, but Mark Ingram, who did go from limited to not participating in practice on Thursday. So something to watch there. But there is some good news that Ryan Ramczyk has practiced the last 2 days in a limited capacity. Everybody, and I see you crossing your fingers there, Ross, Ryan Ramczyk is going to be key, because you've got to have one of these tackles here to get any stability in the run game. They could not run the ball with the backup offensive line that they had against the Panthers last Sunday. You get one of those all-pro tackles back in there, whether he or Terron Armstead, then you have a chance to run the ball. I don't see them. I think they can still beat the Falcons if they don't have their tackles, but it certainly helps having Ryan Ramczyk going there. But as we're moving forward, if they get in the playoffs, they have zero chance if they do not have either one of those tackles back on the offensive line going against the Rams or potentially the Packers in the divisional round.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last one for you real quick. What do you expect? You think the Saints are able to make it happen? You've got the Saints going up against the Falcons. You got the Rams going up against the 49ers. What do you see happening here?
Yeah, I want to say, with everything going on, it would just be apropos for the Saints to beat the Falcons and get into the playoffs with the Rams beating the 49ers. And yeah, the Rams are motivated as well. I mean, you know, they want to win the NFC West. They got into a position there, with the Cardinals kind of slipping up there, that they can, win the division. So it's, like win that, beat the 49ers. The 49ers have been very successful against the Rams, these last few games. So it's like, if we potentially face the 49ers in the playoffs, if they get in and they beat us, they need something to just feel like, hey, we got to feel good going in the postseason. Yeah, I think the Rams are going to play their best game going into the playoffs here against the 49ers. And that bodes well for the Saints because they need that. So I see a Saints win on Sunday. I see a Rams win on Sunday. And I see all of us heading to LA for a wildcard game where I would like to say anything can happen because we get in the playoffs. But again, I think they need to get some pieces back on the offense. This defense has to play at that level again. And then you need the Rams to make some mistakes for it to be like, okay, maybe we can see an upset happen. But that's a lot of ifs that have to happen for the Saints to move on in the playoffs. But it's not as many ifs they need in Week 18 to get into the postseason.
There you go. You got to love it. It's Ricardo LeCompte at WWLTV, at R LeCompte TV on Twitter. We appreciate you coming through, buddy. We'll be seeing you again soon. Fingers crossed for a little road trip for you for La La Land coming up.
I need to go to LA. So yeah, let's wish for that. Thanks, Ross.
All right, family, a fun and action-packed episode for you today. Very excited for a fun and action-packed game on Sunday. For those of you making the trip or those of you in the area that are going, be safe. Enjoy, have fun, and make a ton of noise for your New Orleans Saints. Remember, the Saints win, the Rams win, the Saints are in the playoffs. And if that happens, we'll be here live with a 10 to 15-minute quick hit post-game podcast to generate and talk about all the excitement about the Saints headed to the playoffs. So we'll have all of that for you and much more continuing on with Locked On Saints all throughout the week. So we get the live podcast if the Saints and Rams win. And then, of course, either way, you get the Monday through Friday stuff as we look either ahead to the postseason or the offseason, or we look ahead to the postseason, whichever one it's going to be. So we'll have all of that for you as we continue on our exciting time here at Locked On Saints. As always, y'all, I appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, make sure you go and check out Locked On Bets. Get yourselves some money with your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Thanks as always for being here with us. For everything that you need on your New Orleans Saints between these episodes, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you're living. Let me know how you're momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.